Hello and welcome back to Stranded Deep. We find ourselves once more in the map editor. We are looking at the island that we have been making. This will be our new home island, and it has quite a lot of features on it, including the little rock arch above this little headland, this little sort of nub of land that kind of pokes out into the sea. This was an accident, and we just kind of went with it. That was kind of cool. This hill here, with this very steep sort of hillside on the beach, that was just something that we that was just a brushstroke essentially. Then we made a cutting through here to this from one beach to another, which is kind of cool. We've got a stone circle. We've got another tiny little rocky bridge here over kind of an inland stream, which we really should do something more with. We have our submarine, which again we'll do a little bit more with. We have this little cut through onto this beach, the 3 stones kind of denoting a pathway. And then finally we made ourselves an Iron Age ruined house, which we will probably repeat around the island and make a sort of more of a complex. Now this was kind of tricky because it is, as you probably tell or see from here, we built it into the hillside. Now if we built it straight into the ground, it might have been a little bit easy to make. A little fireplace in there, and the kind of cool. Didn't need to put all 4 sides on it since the looks of the terrain has kind of softened it over time. Bearing in mind these would be probably tens of thousands of years old. Now, what are we doing this time? Well, we still have quite a significant portion of the island to kind of deal with, essentially. I did notice that sort of going through these episodes, through one of the playlists, that we have actually spent quite a lot of time on this island. Now, if people are getting a little bit upset about that, saying, "Ooh, maybe you should go back to the game," you've not played the game, man. I can kind of finish this off camera if you like, and then come back to it, or we can carry on together and finish the island. But I can't tell how long it's going to be because we are kind of, well, we're going real deep with the detail as much as we can with the non-physics items that we actually have available to us. We haven't even got to the point where we are sticking forests and foliage down on the island. The bits that are here are simply just placeholders or just items that tell us, this is what it might look like with stuff around it. So, it's got a little bit more complicated than I kind of anticipated. Now, this area here has been a bit of a problem. We took out one of these marker cliffs. So we put, if I go up and away, whoa, there we go. So we put, the camera doesn't like being in the absolute vertical position. So we put these rock markers. We put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8. Now a lot of them have been removed already, but these denote beaches. Now these are the prime directions for our island. These are the likely areas where we would come in to land a raft, which is why they're kind of there. We can build up and do pretty much anything between them. We might not do anything between them, but we do have these sort of prime directions. So if we are going to another island, the next island would be kind of over there. That's how this is shaping up. Now we took one of these out after putting this little feature in, and it kind of opened up this area. It was to be expected, but it kind of makes this a little harder, a little trickier to work around in our minds. Now, one of the words I was trying to struggle with last time was, what is a swampy area next to the sea that isn't a swamp, and it's a mangrove? And I believe originally there were mangroves in the game, mangrove trees at least, and they are no longer in the game. They got removed many patches ago. So what we're going to do is we're just going to essentially just play, I think, because, well, what is it in the map editor if you can't just play and just have a little experiment, essentially. So I'm going to use these cliff 6. So this is cliff 6. If you're making a cave, well, you're probably very, very acquainted with cliff 6 already. It is the largest straight cliff piece. It is open at the bottom, which is a little bit of a problem if you are making large cave structures. but it is the most practical way of doing it, since you can't raise terrain up and then punch holes in it. So you can't put like grassy sections and then just kind of carve a hole through into the ground. That doesn't work. It's not Minecraft. I don't think it's beyond the engine, but I just don't think it's covered in the scope of the editor as such. It's a very, very basic editor. So we've got basic terrain manipulation, and we have these items. So we got these objects here. We can put rocks in. So all the rocks, with the exception of stones, which aren't here, they're in items. So the rocks are non-physics objects. The trees are non-physics objects, with the exception of palm fronds and the logs. They are physics objects. And then pretty much all of the items are going to be physics objects. We can't Garry's mod this, which is a shame. I'd love to be able to Garry's mod this using something. I think the tire pile is a non-physics object, so we might actually be able to kind of use that, stuff like that to our advantage. Kind of be a little bit cheeky, but then the tire itself, that thing is a physics object, and if we kind of try to jam that in anything, it's going to fly away way before we as a character are going to get to see it in its original location. So this area here, if we can sort this area, we can essentially break the break the back of the island. Yeah, it's going to be tricky. Okay, fine, because there are some things we need to take into account in making anything to do with water. So these little puddles here, they might not seem much, but at night, if we change the lighting in the world, grab the time, whoa, and we can see they get very dark at night, not because it's a dip there, but simply because just the way the water works in this game. So as we're running around at night, if we have a torch, they're shallow enough that the light from the torch is going to illuminate these. But if we're walking around in the dark with just the moonlight, let's see if we do that, we can get ourselves in a situation where they're going to look almost abyssal. So yeah, we don't want to spook ourselves as we're running around our island, but we do want that sort of lovely watery effect. And the sea, oh yeah, nope. Even in the editor, I do not like the sea at night, which is an interesting thing. I did actually go into the forum. Just changing the amount down. I'm gonna brush around this area, just kind of see what we can do. In fact, what I might do is just throw some trees in and then some brush around those. Yeah. I don't often go in the forum these days. I do like to keep an eye on things, but yeah, it's a shame. I think Cosmos stopped posting in the forums just because of the kind of change the feeling, I think. We got this nice little feature here. We might follow that in, actually. It seems like a lot of people are now posting to say, oh, I don't like this feature of the game, or I don't like that. And to be honest, I think I have said in the past that I didn't like the cook pines, these things, when they were introduced. But they've warmed. I think I like them now. They've certainly warmed. Certainly in the island editor, they have huge amount of function in creating very detailed biomes or very detailed islands, which is kind of a cool thing. But I think the main problem at the moment is direction. People are complaining about, and things like the missions and the gyrocopter they've added into the experimental branch. So if you're watching this in the future and there is no gyrocopter, then okay, maybe. Or if you're watching this in the future and you absolutely love the gyrocopter, then maybe. I have no real. I mean, whatever my opinion would be, it's not going to be that valid. I mean, I might be on YouTube, but I'm just a person. And I think that's one of the sort of take-home things. With a forum or YouTube, it's always the vocal minority. You've always got to make your mind up for yourself, whether you're just a person reading them or whether you're an actual developer or whatever. You've got to be very, very careful about vocal minorities. But I'm kind of in agreement partially with some of the direction. The new missions they've been adding in, with the ability to get things for a gyrocopter in order to get rescue. And I'm like, Yeah, okay. It's kind of got a Flight of the Phoenix feel, which is making an aeroplane out of broken aeroplane parts, I guess. A gyrocopter, you might say, but it is a helicopter. No. It's more of a microlight than a helicopter. Essentially, what you have is an auto-rotating helicopter blades. They're not powered unless you are taking off. So you can essentially make one using a small low horsepower engine, maybe a 2-stroke or something. A set of usually a pair of blades. You might go with contra-rotating weights as well to stop the whole thing spinning around. But typically, because they're not powered, you probably won't need them. The main problem you're going to have if you're going to make an autogyro yourself is finding pieces to make things like the props that aren't going to throw themselves apart. So, yeah, if you want a realistic survival game and then you add some aeronautical challenge like that, it's kind of, I don't know. I'd be more up for finding bits for a crystal radio in the wrecks, and then if you really had to have a helicopter rescue people, have something like a Wessex just turn up, a big yellow Wessex just turns up, and it's just like, hello guys, you need to be rescued, no? Because that neatly avoids almost all of, I suppose, if you had a little bit of terrain following. Because if it's a custom island and people are built way out to the Yellow Buoys, then having like a boat or something to rescue people might be a little bit tricky in terms of just gameplay and stuff. We're just kind of fudging around here, really. Just talking about the forums. But yeah, I would rather do like a build a radio summon rescue rather than that. And if you have to have like a gyrocopter, then a microlight would actually be a heck of a lot easier to create. I'd say just saying, but it really is. A microlight is essentially it's any small aircraft. And you can make one using probably a lot of the bits you would find in Stranded Deep anyway. The tarpaulins could be used to make a wing. They might be a bit too heavy. You really need something like mylar or something. But yeah, it's totally possible to make a microlight as long as you can find a decent engine, decent power source, and something for a prop. Because your main problem is going to be the prop throwing a blade, and then you are suddenly unpowered in something you've made yourself, and that's like, well, is it going to fall to pieces? Kinda, maybe. We are just kind of playing around with rocks over here at the moment. We're using the brushes to dig little channels into the sand, and then where the trees are, we're putting rocks and stuff around to give it the impression that the water has washed around these trees, because we don't have mangroves, but the water has washed around these trees where the rocks are because of the rocks, and the sand is built up in these little crooks and whatever. So yeah, that's kind of my feeling on the whole build yourself a rescue vehicle thing. And the other thing people are kind of complaining about is the raft. Yeah, I can see that. Because in the original version of the game, it was more, because there weren't islands like this. It was all procedurally generated, and you can go in a straight line forever. And the idea was that you could play in a couple of ways. You could either build a base on an island, or you could just go and be a nomad. You could play nomadic. But with all the crafting stations that have been introduced recently, then the nomad lifestyle has really just been erased from the game. Because there's no analog which you can fit to a raft. The whole cargo carrying rafts, the one that I use in the game when we're playing, is that smooth? That is not smooth. It's cranking the mount all the way up and rip the knob off. Yeah, is essentially just a kind of a fudge, like not a glitch, but it's something somebody pointed out that said, you can make a cargo carrying raft by essentially just kind of building something that works with the game's physics, and then using these crates. And it's like, yeah, that does kind of work, but there's no way to have the crates actually on a player-made raft. Now. I think one of the problems with that would be the raft system needs to be looked at and reworked anyway, because you can probably tell when you're making a raft, or if you've made a rafting game, that the raft really just when you make it real big, it inherits weight, but it doesn't inherit lift. So it's not like it's displacing more water, and with the extra water displaced, it's getting more buoyancy. That's not happening. So that system needs to be looked at before you could really add any modifications to the raft. And adding stations like crafting stations to the raft shouldn't be too difficult. But it's, I don't know. The buoyancy aspect needs to be fixed. I'm going to stop smoothing that area because we're just going to be smoothing this area ad infinitum, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to get another rock. Big rocks. Big rocks. I like big rocks. You thought I was going to say, and I cannot lie. No, I just like them. They're useful, huge, and somewhat rocky. Like the chocolate bar. Oh yeah. One of the favourite things to do with Rockies. I'm not a big... You see, when we were kids, I got quite a lot of brothers and sisters and what have you kicking around. When we were kids, we would go into town and as a treat, we would get an apple. It was like, hey kids, we're going to go to the greengrocer's, pick yourself out an apple. And it was, we never had chocolate bars. To the point where one of the fun facts that I can share, well, I'm quite happy to share about my life with the internet as a whole, is that I have no fillings. Which, if I happen to find myself on the remake of The Thing, where they identified people who weren't the Thing by their non-amalgam, the Thing couldn't create amalgam fillings, I'd be stuffed. It's like, but I don't have any feelings. But you're a space monster out to eat us. And I'm like, no. Yes. I do. I love films. I gotta say, films are great. Even the bad. In fact, the bad ones are the best. But not like just bad. But like old. I think the older ones are really cool. Like you go and watch Escape from LA, or oh man. It has not aged well, but I gotta say it's it's still eminently watchable, much more watchable than a lot of stuff coming out now. So we're just adding these rocks. I might add some more rocks on the other side just to say that we've done it. We're kind of working with what we have here, and what we have is kind of. We've gone with these 5 trees, this kind of little domino. Domino? What's this pattern? This is the pattern that is on a dice. These 5 dots are arranged in a quincunx fashion. So that's what you would call that. Let's get... This rock is actually really useful, this particular one. Big rock 2. I like it. I like a lot of things. I like it. What do we do? We're working with what we have. So we're adding more stuff, but the stuff we're adding has to work with the stuff that we already have established. Okay. Right. There is a danger, and I was thinking about this. In fact, we can just clone this one. There is a danger, and I was thinking about this sort of in between points when I'm not recording Stranded Deep, and I was thinking, you can get into a situation quite easily where you focused on all these little features, but you then, that might actually be too big, but you haven't looked at the island as a whole, and the island as a whole just doesn't work. So if we were to say, we've got We've got the stone circle, we've got this thing on the top of the hill, we've got that. Those three are kind of neat in that line. We've got this area here, that's kind of neat. But this half the island, there's not really a lot going on. Yeah, we could easily get into a situation where it just doesn't work. And there's danger that we could sort of end up in a little bit of denial and just be like, well, we're just going to forge forward with it anyway. I would rather just, I mean, if this thing actually, if I did ever get into a state where this wasn't right, I would probably just can it. I've done that before, and I will probably do it again. It's a hard thing to do, to say I've spent so many hours on a project and, it's not worked, but sometimes you just gotta do it. So we're sort of pushing in. We keep changing the amount all the way down because we kind of slowly learning that if we keep the amount on the brush sort of ramped up, we are going to punch a hole straight through to Cthulhu's bedroom, which is, I do not want to heed the call of Cthulhu. That's something that is probably a good life lesson, if I'm going to be honest. In fact, that should be when kids are going for their, what do they call it? Oh, it's the job thingy. You visit a careers advisor. A careers advisor, that's it. We used to use a program called Kudos. One of my favourite things, just as a complete aside from that, or lots of asides, is that one of my favourite things is listening to Americans say the word kudos. It's like, it's kudos. What? Like the dog? No, it's kudos. But wait, what? No. It's look. Listen to my accent. Who's right here? That's a card. I don't often pull cards on people, but yeah, you can pull the British card on people if you have a convincing British accent. That's it's complete. I mean, it's not true. Language is whatever you make it. However you speak and whatever your accent is usually unique to you. And I find it very beautiful listening to people from other parts of the world talk, especially if they've made the effort to learn perhaps English as a second or even a third language. It's it's very, very curious. And there is a trap there. As an English speaker, you might think, well, this person doesn't speak English very well. Are they a little bit simple? And it's like, no, because they know other languages much, they're much better at speaking those than we will ever be. It's I don't know. I think it's something that the British do get lazy with as well, because you can pretty much go to other parts of the world and everyone's speaking the same, or will make an effort to speak English and use it as a language of business. That you just don't learn other people's languages. I know a bit of German. I know a very scant amount of French. Almost an embarrassing small amount of French. Not enough to navigate a city, as I found out when I was in Paris one time. And the Parisians, if you do not at least attempt to speak French, they do not like it. They're like, you're smelly English. And I'm like, parlez-vous? I don't know. I think that's, no, I'm lost now. I just need to find my way back to the hotel. What are we doing here? How is this coming along? This is okay. This is not right at the front. This needs smoothing off. So we are going to crank the amount up, but not all the way. Change the size to, there we go, and just smooth this off. Because this looks like ass. And there's anything you don't want, it's looking like ass. So we're going to pop these out, these little sort of triangular pieces. So we need it deep enough to have water in it, which means pushing it down to the water layer, which runs under the map. And it's not a unique thing to Stranded Deep. It's a very common thing in video games where the water layer just runs under the map. It's way more efficient just to do that than have it occluded by something. So we've got this, and now the sand is damp but not wet. Yeah, I fear a little bit of digging and smoothing, which is in turn going to take these very steep, sort of sandy banks down, which is a kind of a side effect, kind of a needed side effect. It's not something that I'm not expecting. It is a very needed side effect for this. We are pushing this in. These trees probably won't even stay in this configuration. We need more density, because at the moment, if we stand here, it's just like, it's a load of crap there. It looks like a child's playroom. There's loads of stuff on the floor, and it just doesn't make sense. What we will do is go back to objects. That's obviously looking a bit wrong at this point. So we press T. We bring that down. Okay. What about this? We're going to do the same thing with that. We're going to hit R. We're going to rotate that back. We're going to hit T, which is the other side, not the button I pressed. Right. Okay. Cool. Neat. We do need to get this kind of nailed. I think so. I'm willing to take the time to do it. Make sure the amount is down. The size is quite big, but we're on raise. Yeah, that ain't going to help us. Well, no, it's not going to help us at all. So we're punching some water through here. I'm going to do it till it's sort of what is that? Turquoise? No, is it teal? It's a very sort of pale blue. It's not duck egg. Certainly not royal blue, and definitely not. It's not powder blue. It's not aquamarine. No, I'd say it's closer to teal actually, because it's greeny blue. Okay, fine. Just punching this back, so because we're going to be smoothing it again. It's another smoothing whatever pass, but I think these channels can be quite deep. I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. In fact, we'll punch this way a little bit as well. These don't have to actually go anywhere. This bank here might end up as a sea wall. Just a natural sea wall. So we might even be able to do stuff in here. My problem is that these slopes are a bit too steep, way too steep. So we're just going to push a lot of this stuff back. We can afford to be sloppy with the brush at this point. So we're just going to push it back, and we're just kind of following no particular pattern. No particular direction. Now, water doesn't like going at right angles unless it has to. It will take the path of least resistance, and that means, we're starting to reveal rock there. Okay. We might need to do something here as well, because that is a void. And here as well, we've got this kind of edge of this beach, but it's kind of it's nonsensical. So we'll push in here, because it just looks like almost like a bread loaf that we've got going on here, and I don't like that. So we can push in a bit as if the sea is trying to reclaim it. It doesn't matter if it's too deep, because we're going for something that's fairly swamp-y. And if we get the camera down, yeah, these sort of sandy dunes are way too big. So I'm going to push them down by hand, just without relying on the smoothing. There we go. That feels a lot better. A little bit closer to the sea, and we can see exactly how far we've come by how much the trees start poking above the ground. The rocks are not a problem. We can just push them down underneath. So we're kind of hopping around like a little cricket, just smoothing and pushing and smoothing and pushing and just making sure it's right. Because a lot of these structures in nature, these sort of little rivulets and stuff, aren't. Well, I want it to be smooth. There are no right angles in nature, which is a lie. Of course, it's a lie. There's no rules for nature. Bismuth obviously tells you that. That's a straight lie, being that it's basically all right angles. Anything to do with magnets, because nobody knows how magnets work. They can often end up in right angles. So we're just pushing this back, pushing it back, pushing it back. I don't mind having a sort of a grassy slope at the back. We can throw in some rocks and make it sure it actually looks like it belongs. Do we need to? We could actually punch that in and have a little lake there or something. I don't want to go overboard with these little inlets, but I do want to sort of get them down, pushing it down. Nice. So we can run over the whole area of the smoothing pass and see what that yields. Yeah. So what I don't want it to look like is a little bit too crazy golf. Ah, that's a good description actually. A little bit too crazy golf, like it was built for a resort. That looks a little bit. So we've got raise and lower now. All right. Well, we punch in here. Yeah. All right. These 5 trees are obviously obvious. I keep saying the word obviously. It might not actually be obvious, but they're not where they need to be. The pattern is wrong. The pattern is wrong. Pattern recognition. That's actually a good book. That's part of the Sprawl trilogy by William Gibson, written in the 80s. Is that pattern recognition? Oh God, no, it's not. No, that's the Sprawl trilogy was Neuromancer, Mona Lisa Overdrive, and Count Zero. So what was pattern recognition? That might have been the Bridge trilogy. Ooh, that was the 90s, I think. Same guy, William Gibson. If you're into cyberpunk, basically, you should already know who William Gibson is. If you're not into cyberpunk and want desperately to be into cyberpunk and don't know what it is, that is The Matrix, Tron, any of that sort of stuff, I guess. I was going to say The Lost Starfighter, and then I was like, no, not really. But it's kind of, computer, fashion, that kind of thing. Computers as a lifestyle. Oh, Hackers, 1995, directed by Ian Softly. Yeah. He's actually a really good director as well, into the bargain. So we're just kind of pushing it back, just kind of seeing what comes of it. That's a little bit more agricultural there, right? Okay, just chipping it back. Right, okay. So the main push of this is going to be we need to raise this area up this side. Nice. Okay, good. Yeah, starting to see something forming. We're going to hit the smooth tool. We're going to hit the amount to about 50%. We're going to make sure the size is quite big. Then we're going to blow over this like a hurricane. We're going to rock it, I guess, like a hurricane. Maybe not. So we're going to go over here and just push this back. So we're losing a lot of depth straight away. A lot of depth, but also we're losing a lot of height, which is good. The height was annoying. That's suddenly, look at that. That's suddenly a lot smoother. Yeah, that's real nice. Real nice. Getting rid of those sharp edges. Might dig a little bit more into it, but yes, starting to look a bit more natural. Yes, right away. That's cool. That's cool. Sorry. That's not even English. So obviously, that's what I was trying to say. From quite far away, you got the LODs, the level of detail sort of pops out, and it gets lower and lower detail the further you go away. So if you are kind of trying to see this from a distance, you're going to have a hard time, my friends, even if you have a really powerful computer. The nice thing about this is it shouldn't be too hard on the old FPS either. So what are we going to be doing about these trees? Well, I'll give it another pass, I think, first of all. Make sure the amount's down, make sure we're on lower, and just kind of punch in some of the details that got lost. We can use a kind of a less aggressive smoothing afterwards. Make sure the size is actually down, because we are... And I'd like these channels to be a little bit deeper than they are. Just to give you the feeling, the amount needs to come up a little bit. There we go, that's better. Because it should be deeper near the sea, because the sea will be essentially there's a tractor effect that goes on with the sea itself. Let's just punch it around the edge of this rock so the water kind of links up. Nice. Yeah, anything next to the sea itself will be deeper, which is why estuaries tend to get, well, increasingly deep. The closer to the open sea you get. Nothing to do with salination, and more to do with tidal draw and currents. So yeah, nice. We're just pushing this a little bit deeper so we can actually see the colour of the water. And we'll probably lose some of that when we do another smoothing pass. But we already have lost a ton of height, which is why these things are kind of floating around. But also we get this nice, these nice sort of organic banks of sand close up. Which kind of looks a bit like the wind has blown it there, rather than, hey, some dude has just gone and brushed it all in. So let's push that down a little bit there. Ironically, by brushing it in. No? Is that irony? People misuse the word irony a lot. It's, yeah, kind of a hard thing to define. It's something you can define with the use of a dictionary. Right, good. So we have this kind of, it's not 100% organic, but then we don't have mangrove trees. And it's only a small area of the island. But yeah, so we are definitely going to need to do something with this area here and maybe over here as well. So we could probably do more of this here and then have, yeah, and does this interfere with what we've had? No, we've got this area here for the landing, and this area here for landing a boat. So yeah, no, this is fine. This is absolutely fine. Oof. This is tricky because we are very, very firmly into unknown territory at this point. So we're going to get close enough so that the LOD is popped in. We're just going to smooth this off a little bit, and just underneath. If we just brush the bottom and the sides independently with a smaller brush, I'm thinking that should help. That is not helping, my friends. That is not helping. If we do that, it's just going to get rid of it. Oh, digging and smoothing and digging and smoothing. Size down. Whoa. There we go. Let's get a little bit aggressive there. Not that I would recommend that. Nope. That's not. I think it's probably the size of the channel that we're trying to make, and the sort of steepness of the size. We might just have to live with it, because in a certain direction, so in an absolute diagonal, those patterns aren't too much of a problem. I think actually in the game we'll lose some of that harshness as well anyway. What can we do about that? I don't think there's anything we can do. Is there anything that needs to be done to it? No! So I just want to get rid of some of these sort of little triangular dents in the ground, just to make sure it doesn't look too much like Open Transport Tycoon, because that's not how the ground really looks in real life. Right, okay, what do we got now? It's not too bad. From a certain angle, it's not too bad. Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay, right. Okay, we'll work with this for the time being. Right, good, absolutely brilliant. Fine. And what we're going to do? So these larger areas. Okay, hit up objects. Fine. We're going to hit up objects. Make sure we got rocks. I'm going to select this bad boy and move it over a little bit. Over here, knock it down into the ground. Nice. I like that. We are going to grab this tree here. We should probably just put a new tree in. It would be a lot simpler for us. We're going to hit the R key, which is behind the microphone stand. I'm going to rotate. We're just going to rando rotate it, because otherwise all these trees, which are all the same, are going to look a little bit I don't like it when it looks like it's been placed by hand. It just looks a little bit awkward, a little bit odd, a little bit unnatural. Right, so we're going to take this rock, we're going to join up with that rock over there, take this rock and use it to kind of... That is a very big rock for what we're actually doing. We don't need a big rock like that. What we can do is use a smaller rock, a little small organic piece. There we go. And press T. And grab the green and just push it down. So it looks like there's more rocky stuff underneath the sand. There isn't, but it looks like that sandbank kind of exists because the sea is going to have a hard time removing the sand from around the rocks. So, I'm pressing the wrong button. I'm not even going to apologize. That is the wrong button. Okay, cool. So I'll just press T, bring it back. And then R to rotate, because we got a little bit of terrain. The terrain hops up there. Nice, good. So we don't need to like completely put rock everywhere. It just wouldn't make logical sense. What we can do is just use it to create kind of not a psychological. That's not the right word. But we want to make it look, well, organic. I keep saying that word. That word? You keep saying that word. I don't think it means... what's the saying? You keep saying that word. It doesn't mean what you think it means? I don't think it means what you think it means. Damn, it's Princess Bride. Go look it up. Yeah, that's kind of cool, the way the sand is just on top of that bit of rock, and then we've got this little narrow channel. Yeah, that works. That works really good, actually. That's real nice. Okay, small rocks, bigger rocks. No, actually, that might. Would that work? I don't see why it wouldn't work. Okay, cool. This bit here. This is awkward. There's too much stuff going on here. So what we're going to do is use what we have, but kind of space it out a bit. I don't like it. I don't like it. Now we've brushed around, it just looks a bit wrong, I guess. We got this sort of creek action going on. Is it a creek? Nah. No. Actually, I don't know what you would call it in the UK. I don't know. I don't even know what we call it in the UK. Probably just salt flats, maybe. Or tourist trap in the most literal sense, because probably full of quicksand, which there are quite a few places around here which are completely full of quicksand, and you do hear the old stories. It's like, oh, the family went out and they was like trying to walk across the thing, and then the thing didn't happen, and the quicksand is not supposed to be it's not the punchline, my friend. And they're like, oh, quicksand. It's like, all right. So with the shallower areas, what I might do is put these. I don't like the palm trees all being the same height. That's one thing. Not being like heightist against the palm trees, but it doesn't look right. You don't tend to find everything just grows all at once and then pops up. So we're going to go back to trees. Trees, hello. And then we are going to this bit here is very, very shallow, very close to the water. So I'm going to get rid of that. Yes. Where are we? Pine. No, we don't want the pine trees. We want the palm. Begins with P. Very similar in the way that it's not. So what we'll do is do that. Hit rotate. And palm 3. There we go. Just off to one side. Give it a little rotate. Nice. What we'll do is put palm 4 in here. So these things are growing in kind of like pears, but then they're not really. But you can put a higher one with a lower one, and it kind of makes it look a little bit. Let's get rid of that in its entirety. Yep. Nice. So we'll have these here. There's too many of those. Let's do this. Okay. So what we're doing is adding the trees to this area. So because this is a feature, and although I said I wasn't going to be starting to throw trees in and stuff, we are kind of putting the wood in the features, as it were. We'll go back to objects. Objects. Where are you? Where are the rocks? Here are the rocks. That is, that's quite big. There we go. Not so big. That makes a lot of sense being there. I like it. Another! No. What are we doing? We're going back to trees. Log. Nope. Pine. No, palm. Yes. It's quite interesting that in Marvel's... is it Marvel's... Is it Thor? Ragnarok? Whatever's coming out. Why Thor have no whetstone jammed in forehead? That's a thing. That's a thing to look up if you're bored and on Wikipedia and just want to fall down a wiki hole. It's like, yeah, Thor should have a whetstone jammed in his forehead. I never thought about that before. Well, now you did. So these palm trees, we did say we were going to relegate them to the sandy areas because coconuts float. No, I might be completely wrong. It might be the crabs take coconuts inland and just kind of leave them there, or certain palm trees you do find inland. That's palm one over there. I'll tell you what, I'll throw some palm ones down. It doesn't matter if it's too... I don't want it too densely populated, because I'm going to hit an old friend up. Hello, ficus. Yeah, knobbly old ficus. In lieu of having... that's actually not bad. In lieu of having any sort of... I want the branches over the water. That'd be nice. Yeah, in lieu of having any... the things that I said at the beginning, the trees, the mangrove trees. Why can't I can never remember what they are, because they probably just don't appear in my day-to-day vocabulary. Interesting little point of thought, I guess, maybe? Don't know. So the mangrove tree, it's not even mangrove. It's a ficus. The ficus tree can be over here. It's far enough away from the coast to make sense. It's also slightly more, the ground is kind of a little bit more built up here as well. What I will do is probably rock it over a bit, because I want the branches to be out over the water, just to have that sort of shaded effect. But I also want these roots to be in the ground, because it does make sense. If they're not, they'll just be like, why are they up in the air? Don't know. So that's kind of cool. The branches aren't clipping into anything, are they? This tree here is very, very awkward. You know what we can do? We can move it, because that's exactly what we can do. We can build this world, and we can tear it down. Ah, good. So that's one. That's one. That was always part of the plan, like a silent plan. 2. There we go. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, that root there is exactly what I wanted to do. Have a lot of it exposed down by the water. Yep. And another quick check to make sure this is all... Oh, that is really tight there. Real tight. Trees don't tend to grow through each other. It's not a feature of trees. I like that being there. But is this okay? They do that. They grow into like tree arches. No, you know what? Let's move that around a bit. Let's see what we've got going on here. Is that better? Yeah. That's okay, I think. I'll tell you what, let's move some of these around a little bit. It's just... Oh, that's the wrong button. That button turned on the caps lock. Interesting. Yeah, this boy here is kind of... needs to go there, I guess. The reason plants tend to they tend to grow up into a gap in the... I suppose the canopy. If there is a canopy, they will grow towards a gap in the canopy. We can always get this boy closer to the water. Doesn't matter too much. There we go. Yeah, they will always tend to grow to a gap because they're heading towards the light. They are very much attracted to light. There we go. Yeah. See, this was always the plan, to get these lovely shadows into the water. So you've got this area, and you'll be running through, and you've got interest in the ground. So the water is deep enough to have that lovely sort of pale blue. Did we agree what it was? Turquoise? No. Teal? Maybe. Very, very pale blue water with this lovely canopy of leaves. And it's a unique little environment which we can splash through, splish, splash, splish, splash. There'll be coconuts and stuff here, which will give us a reason to come over here, or just to splish around. It's nice. It's just a nice little area that is a distraction from the rest of the island. I will throw another tree in, but I'm not entirely sure where. That is the question. We could actually throw a ficus tree 2 down along this side. It's kind of like I don't like that so much. I don't like it. It just feels untidy. It feels too untidy. And considering... There we go. How is this looking? Well, the camera is really not being friendly. It is not being my friend, no? Oh, camera, why do you forsake me so much? Right, okay. So we've put this in. The main problem with this is it might be in the same orientation as this, so we just have a little look. It kind of is, but is it noticeable at being the same orientation? Not super really, no. I can give it a little rotate maybe. I think I might throw in one more in just to have that over here, or I might make a feature along this area here with one of these, just to make sure that beach, because this area here, and I think probably this area here, we might throw like a little pond or something in here. Not sure, but yeah, this is starting to feel okay. Starting to feel like I always wanted to do something like this, but I couldn't really work out in my mind. And until we started doing it, then yeah, it wasn't right. Okay, cool. So we'll just drop that down. Gives a little bit of foliage there. Leafy green. Make sure it's still clipped into the ground. It is still clipped into the ground. We can get an old nana plant in. There we go. Cool. I'm not even checking. Completely cavalier, that one. Just a rando nana. Just attack of the nanas. We can do the same thing here. I'll rotate, and I will just drop that down just a few pixels, so it is in fact in the ground. Oh, that is clipped into the tree. All right. Just making sure that's not clipped into anything. Cool. I don't need too much in the way of ground foliage here, because the assumption is, on a strong tide, in a storm, this place will probably be fairly exposed. I'm assuming water and stuff will come straight through here, so that's going to be a problem for plant life to begin with. We could probably put another one of those in, or one of these in, just in there. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Yeah. It's kind of just barely touching the tree there. There. Nice. And that is, in fact, that is in the ground. It's in the ground. So this is starting to look way, way more organic. I keep using that word. It doesn't mean what I think it means. Is that the quote? Maybe. Okay, sure. So we've got this. I'm actually quite happy with this. We're probably need to give it another pass. But for the time being, I'm going to stop adding stuff to it to allow this to sink into our subconscious. So what it's going to do is it's going to sink into our subconscious. It looks like ass from above because of LOD. But when we're down on the ground, it's going to look real nice. Oh yeah, no, that is going to look super nice as we're running around, being stranded in this most deep of seas. I'm liking that. Is those roots in the ground? They are indeed in the ground. Cool. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. We're gonna just kind of let this sink into our subconscious view of this place. We're going to focus on something else next time. Probably link this in with the rest of the island, and I think we're kind of getting there. It's a lot of small things joined up with well, basically whatever we can do. The tool set is pretty limited, but you know what? It is fun. I think the challenge is making something interesting with this very limited tool set, and I'm kind of enjoying that challenge. But some people might not. So if you're liking this, definitely leave a comment down below or leave a thumbs up. If you're not liking this, if you want to see more like actual proper gameplay, then definitely leave a comment below. And you know what? I will catch you guys next time.